Billiken fans, welcome back. It is Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you all so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Also, comment down below. Absolutely awesome when anybody hits the comment section and talk about something that we're talking about. Give your opinion on something, or maybe we missed something. Maybe we should talk about something. Anything at all that crosses your mind, hit the comment section down below. It's season 5, once again, the Midtown Madness Podcast, brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Two Men in a Garden salsa is my absolute favorite local salsa. So much so that even if I go to Deerberg's, they don't have the cantina style. I will absolutely get whatever heat level they have, and I will dirty my blender. Like I will dirty a dish just so I can make sure that I'm eating Two Men in a Garden salsa, even though I prefer it in that cantina style. And I don't have an immersion blender. So like I said, it just, I have to get the old blender out of the food processor out. Whether it's mild, medium, or hot, Two Men in a Garden has you covered with salsa that is sure to elevate your mid-game snacking. Head over to twomeninagarden.com to shop your favorite flavors, all made fresh with fresh, simple ingredients, and they all have a ton of flavor. Learn more about Kitchen Hub STL as well while you're there. And don't forget to follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter for all the latest with Two Men in a Garden products. Pete, we are continuing this run of just phenomenal vibes within Billiken basketball.
We are, Zach. It's amazing.
Billiken men's basketball. It's been a great week if you're just a Billiken men's basketball fan.
It's amazing what happens when your team starts playing well and winning. And,
yes,
that's where we're riding it now. Let's hope this goes as long as possible, but we're feeling pretty good.
One little note before we get going. AJ Casey, I think this shocked both of us, Pete.
Yeah, no way anyone could have seen this coming. But we did find out on Sunday afternoon that AJ Casey will be redshirting for the season. He did not play in enough games to burn his eligibility for the year. He's had some injury issues, but I think you and I and everyone else who watches this team closely we've been talking for weeks. Like, I don't know if we're going to see him anymore this season.
Yeah, and I don't know if we see him next year. It'll be very interesting to kind of see how that develops as, this season progresses, and if there are any, depth players that do seem to step up. I know we've talked about it kind of, but it's been talked ad nauseum on the message board, especially that Schertz really does key in on that 7 to 8 man rotation more on the lower end.
Yeah, I don't think he was going to see much of the floor this season, especially if he wasn't 100%. I actually didn't realize that he had only appeared in 3 games. I thought it was more than that.
I thought it was less.
I knew it was under 9, obviously, but I didn't think it was 3. I thought he played more than that. He only played 21 total minutes, so 7 minutes a game over 3 games. I don't know. That surprised me.
Let's get into the Bonaventure game. First of all, though, I unironically love everything. I am so sad that NBC Sports ceased to be an over-the-air channel because they do not host as many college basketball. Like, I love Saturday A10 NBC slate. I missed the hell out of it. It was great to just sit down, one game after the other. The picture is always crisp. The graphics are always nice. They have fun graphics too. It's kind of gives you that little tint of, like, you've seen the NFL do the Nickelodeon stuff and the Disney stuff. Well, like, when a player makes a 3 on the NBC Sports graphic, like, they get the 3 the hand, like the foam finger in the form of, like, holding up a 3-point signal. I love it. It wipes in the new numeric figure. So I think that's just really fun. I watched this Bona game 5 times on replay just because I enjoy the broadcast. I don't love Dr. John Giannini. I don't think he's that great. I know that's an unpopular opinion, I think.
Yeah, A10 Twitter loves him.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't like. He kept saying things on the broadcast that you're just like, that just like that. The opposite of that just happened, and I'm just like, okay. Also, what did he gave? They went down that really weird rabbit hole with Robbie Avila nicknames, and Dr. John just gives like a super serious breakdown of why he likes or dislikes the nicknames. And I'm just like, dude, it's not that like they're silly. They're stupid. But yeah, I like NBC Sports. I love their hockey coverage as well. I know a bunch of people hate the commentators, but I'm just specifically talking about the presentation. I think it's the visual presentation. But the Billikens get a 73-68 win over St. Bonaventure on Wednesday the 8th. This got a little tighter than I would have liked in the end, but hey, look, Bonaventure was at the top of the league. Now we're at the top of the league. You got to beat the best to be the best, right?
That's exactly right, Zach. And like you said, it got a little closer than we would have liked. But I think you and I, before this game, just like those road games before it, we just wanted to win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you want out of this game. A team that comes in undefeated in conference, and I know it's early, but 14-1 overall is not a team you can take for granted, no matter what you think about their talent or their schedule or anything like that. There were some challenging stretches in the first half, but SLU managed to go on a 15-2 run at the end of the half for a 6-point lead at halftime. And I think people were feeling pretty good about that momentum, Zach.
Yeah, and of course, one of those tough stretches included one for Avila, where he bit on a guard, got beat, he poked the ball from behind, fouled him allegedly, gave up a wide open dunk, and then threw away an inbound pass for another dunk. It's one of those stretches where you say, especially early in the game, you're like, oh no, it's not going to be one of these games, is it? But fortunately, that wasn't the case, and this was nothing more than a dopey sequence in an otherwise really good game for Robbie.
Yeah, he's capable of those, right? Like he's not the smoothest guy on the floor. And sometimes when he does those, like whether it's a turnover or a foul or just a misread or something like that, it can look a little worse than it otherwise.
Everything he does when it's done poorly looks horrendous, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, he ended up with 5 turnovers in this game, which is almost half of what SLU as a team had in the game. So he definitely had his moments, especially.
Shout out the Billikens for only 5 turnovers.
Well, the rest of the team, they had the rest of the team had 6, so he had 5 of our 11.
So one of my everybody knows that's listened to this knows that I am very much. We talked early in the opening about how Schertz kind of sticks to that 7-man rotation. I personally would love it to see him dig a little deeper into his bench, and a lot of that is because in this game, one of the less challenging stretches I thought was the intriguing time where the Billikens rolled out Swope, Brockhoff, Thames, Warlick, and Jimerson. And I really thought this lineup gave a lot more than translated to the score sheet. And I'm not talking about the intangibles. What I'm saying I thought they defended really well on defense, and they got a lot of open shots on offense. Which it wasn't necessarily on like pretty plays. It just, they happened to get some wide open shots that just didn't fall, including a really nice second chance opportunity and one really nice Gibson Jimerson drive and score. And I thought that lineup played even basketball with Bonaventure. Again, a team who doesn't go deep into their bench either. And I think that's all you can really, that's the baseline for expectations for your bench as for a good performance.
Was this the only shift for Killian Brokoff?
Yes.
Okay, because he only played 3 minutes on the game. The other guys did get more minutes. We had 16 for Warlick, 13 for Thames. So I it was the only time I could remember him getting in. I don't disagree with you. I mean, I thought they were kind of fun to watch. The few minutes they were out there, they always show you some flashes. They always give you some energy. I liked, switching it up like that, giving Avila a rest. And it wasn't one of these things where Schertz was going to stick with kind of an odd grouping for a long period of time either, right? It was more like, let's throw this out there, roll with it a few minutes, get our guys some rest, and see what happens. And yeah, it's not like Bonaventure went on a big run or anything like that. So I thought it was a good look.
Yeah, that stretch also included, and I think we're going to talk about this last stretch of that lineup's time in the game. But the Billikens got the lead up to 16, but Bonaventure ended the game with a huge run and got it to within 3.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, wait, hold on. This is ended the game. Oh, I got it. Sorry. I was so confused at the site because never mind. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. No, I know because I made an error in the notes there, but
I wasn't going to say anything.
Thanks for not reading that. But the thing about this stretch, Zach, is it wasn't just one thing, right? It was turnovers. It was missed shots, giving up offensive rebounds. There were some bad calls from the officials in there, by the way, the worst crew that we've had since Grand Canyon. And I think Schertz said he was really going to take this, I think he called it the last 6 minutes of the game, and really dig into that on film, because he made it sound like he didn't want to let his foot off the gas, right? Like the way that a lot of SLU fans looked at it, they thought, oh no, we let up. Here we go. We're just trying to take the air out of the ball, right? And Sure. Do you
know how many people I had to sit there and turn around in a 360-degree circle around my seat and remind, because all I'm in my ear from all directions is,
yes,
oh God, here we go again. Here we go again. And I'm like, it's not the same coaching staff. It's not the same coaching staff.
Schertz made it sound like that was not his intention, but I think his phrasing was, we were playing not to lose. We weren't playing to win. We were playing not to lose. And that means just a more conservative approach than I think he would have wanted to take, and that they needed to take, right? Because for the first 34 minutes, what they were doing was in aggregate really working, plus 16 at that point. And this got to within a possession. So pretty scary finish. But again, like you said, it's not the same coach, not the same team. They held on, Zach.
Yeah, they did. And you mentioned the officiating. And of course, one of the major subplots of the game, especially in relation to officiating, is the talk of Bonaventure not fouling. A lot of Bonaventure fans were taken to their board and to Twitter. And I thought, again, I don't think Bonaventure, I don't think there were any plays necessarily with Bonaventure on defense where the calls we weren't getting calls. Late in the game, yes. Yes, I thought for sure. But I thought for the most part they played clean defense. I thought most of the officiating issue was against the Billiken defense and then missing offensive violations by Bona, not fouls.
So like what? Moving, or like, are you talking about moving screens or
moving,
like traveling?
Traveling, yeah. I thought, yeah, I don't. Now that I'm saying it out loud after I watched the game and took the notes, I can't remember.
It wasn't defensive fouls though.
Yeah, it just wasn't defensive fouls. Yeah. I thought they got away with some travels. There was, Giannini on the broadcast noted that fouling is not good defense, and I don't. Like I said, I didn't agree with a lot of stuff he said on the broadcast, but I don't think that's a statement you can make in black and white.
No. I in fact had to tell my third graders to start fouling a certain player on the other team this weekend because you're that coach. Unbelievable. We had one kid show up late, and I was like, if you cannot keep him in front of you, just foul him. They didn't really get the message though. This kid was unbelievable. But no, I think that's I think you're right. I don't think you could just make a blanket statement like that. But there is something going on with Bonaventure. They really don't foul. They foul less than all but like 8 or 9 teams in the entire country, which is crazy. I don't know how much of I don't know how much of it is a favorable whistle. I thought we certainly did not get home cooking in this game.
No, it's amazing. Every game that we play at home, I think every Billiken fan takes to social media and complains about not getting any, like, we don't get any love. I feel like we've seen, even, even in neutral games where I don't have a rooting interest, I've seen so many great home whistles, and I've never seen the Billikens get one.
And it's funny because I watched Bonaventure play LaSalle. I watched late in that game anyway, and they got bailed out time and time again down the stretch. Bonaventure did at home. And I was kind of like, okay, guys, and it was the same thing, Zach. It wasn't that they were not getting called on defense when I thought they should have been. Like, they really don't foul a lot, but on offense, they called really light fouls on LaSalle. It was like 3 possessions in the last 4 minutes that I thought, like,
and that was exactly what I think we saw at the end of this game. There were so many times, like that late foul on what on Avila.
Yeah,
where straight of all the times that Avila makes a defensive play, that is like the furthest. And I still don't understand how Avila plays defense. It's like I talk so much about how bad his defense was when it was bad early in the season, and when he is playing good defense, I understand why other teams complain. Because again, I'm watching it, and that's when I'm like, I thought it was a favorable whistle at first, like when he first started doing it. And now I'm just like, oh no, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I think so. But back to Bonaventure, they wind up, Zach, in this game having fouls to give at the end. And as we saw against LaSalle, it was the same thing back to back. It's crazy.
I really got to ask, like, I know, again, you don't want to foul, you want to defend clean. But like, if you end a game that you lose, having to foul to get to the bonus for the other team to shoot free throws, you're not playing hard enough, right?
Yeah, I need to watch more Bonaventure to kind of figure out what they're doing. They play the most kind of just straight up defense ever. It's not aggressive, right? Like they don't force a whole lot of turnovers. They're
like, I just don't think you're bringing enough physicality, right?
Right.
Like, I know they're disciplined, and I know they're playing very, like, that Soderbergh-esque, kind of wall off, don't let anybody in, like that kind of stuff. Not necessarily the pack line specifically, but just, like a Majerus defense, but with less physicality. Because those Majerus teams, they played lines, but they would get to those spots and they would wall up.
Yeah, they would. And the other thing that they did that kept foul numbers a little bit low is they were always trying to look to get into passing lanes and create steals and turnovers and deflections that way, rather than just being, right up on a guy and hounding one guy, right? Like they were trying to work angles a little bit more. So I've got to watch a little bit more Bonaventure to figure out what they're doing. But they, for whatever reason, do not foul, and or they don't get called for fouls.
You mentioned Bonaventure versus LaSalle. I cannot wait. As much as I am going to enjoy talking about the rest of this game, I can't wait till we get to around the A10 this week. It was so much fun.
It's rare that there's an A10 game that I actually want to devote a segment to, because that one was
incredible.
It really was.
While we're talking about the officials, and we finish up, we need to discuss one of the most baffling pieces of reffing I've seen. Unfortunately, we cannot go to the tape, but it is, let me just, for the benefit of those with flash photography, let me just pull up. It starts, if you go to Peacock and you go to the replay, started at 18:30. That's real time, 18:30 real broadcast time. What you'll see is, and this goes back to the late of the bench minutes. It's Picard and another guard, or not Picard. It's Brockhoff and a guard, and they double down low on the Bonaventure player, and the Bonaventure player throws the ball into the backcourt. The Bonaventure player lets the ball ride all the way out, doesn't touch it. Ball goes out. That's Billiken ball. That's a turnover. As they're getting ready to throw in the ball, I see the official in the middle, like this was in person. I see it. He goes 20, 20, 20 seconds. I go, what? Like I'm watching him do this. I'm like, wait, why? Why 20? Like they set the shot clock to 20 seconds after a turnover. I have no idea what happened here. I don't know why they did it. I watched a game today, and the exact same situation happened. I'm telling you exactly to the T. Ball went down, and they didn't touch it. It went out. 30 seconds on the shot. I have no idea why. Not a single idea.
Yeah, I mean, I get it for like kicked balls, or something like that, or they reset it now on offensive rebounds to 20. Is that right? No. What's the other reason?
Offensive rebounds reset to 20.
Yeah. Offensive rebounds reset.
What if you kicked the ball just on purpose that was going in the backcourt, so the other team then got 20 seconds on a kickball?
Well, depending on how intentional a kick is, it could be technical, but yeah. I don't know why either. I don't know why either. I didn't like this crew at all. They didn't make me as angry as Grand Canyon because they didn't just hand the game to the other team. But I thought they were pretty poor.
They were bad early, and I think their late game shenanigans was a bit of a reaction to the home crowd really giving them the business the entire game. I feel like there was some shaving of points in there, not shaving of points, but there was some favoritism given one way, I think. Maybe looking less favoritism or looking the other way, I think was
we might as well just check their phones and check their DraftKings.
Yes, check their draft. It's we still covered, bitches.
That's right. But Zach, in addition to the dumb zebras, I think there was one other factor that kept this game close, and that was offensive rebounding. St. Bonaventure had 14. SLU only had 3. SLU also had one more turnover than Bonaventure, and the Bonnies ended up with 13 more field goal attempts overall, right? So yes, it's in no small part due to Kalu Anya fouling out in just 11 minutes played. By the way, sometimes you see a player's value most when he's absent.
Yes, you do.
But I was a little confounded by some of the misses on defensive rebounds that wound up in Bonaventure hands, because they really are not the most aggressive team hitting the offensive glass. They're not bad, but like, I don't know, coming into this game, that wasn't the thing that I thought would be a big separator like it was.
Yeah, I thought also, I wondered how much the increase in zone played in this game specifically did contribute to the offensive rebounds. Obviously, there were some bunnies that were rebounded offensively. There was at least one fast break where we stopped the initial shot and then someone came right in to clean it up without any real contesting. So, yeah, tough night on the boards for the Billikens. One guy who did not have a tough night, who absolutely stole the show, was Gibson Jimerson. Jim, 28 points, 9 of 15 from the field, 6 of 11 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, all 4 in the last minute. He played all 40 minutes. And really this, again, like I said last week, this is exactly what I wanted for Gibson, or expected for Gibson coming back this season. He played 40 minutes, and this is a guy who's played 40 minutes nearly every game in the last or close to it in the last 2 years. And this 40 minutes had to feel like a breeze for Gibson.
Yeah, he was great. He was really great. And a lot of times this season, there's been 2 labels kind of thrown around with him, right? As much as we all like him.
Yes.
He's number one been tagged a bum slayer.
Yes.
A guy who goes off against weak competition. and is nowhere to be found in harder games. And that kind of has been true throughout his career. There have been a lot of tougher games where he doesn't really show up as much. The other thing he's been, especially this season, is a one half wonder, right? Where he'll go off in one half and nowhere to be found in the other half. But this game, in addition to being a great 40-minute effort, was against a really good team. So I don't think you can accuse him of either of those things here. And we needed every single one of his 28 points. He was great.
Yeah, he was. Two of his threes in the second half, though, were something special, I thought. Two long-range missiles in transition, an impressive logo three, and then a three where he had to catch, turn it 180 degrees, see the rim, and fire, which I thought was the more impressive of the two.
Yeah, for sure. Love both of those. I mean, he's as much as we have praised his ability to catch high, release quickly, I think what I love most about his game is that he can hit threes in a variety of ways. It doesn't all have to be like that, right? He hits them in a number of ways, and that to me makes him such an intriguing player. You know, as he kind of looks toward a professional career, the ability to shoot at a high percentage, off the catch, off the dribble, you know, quickly, up high, you know, whatever form he's going to use, he finds a way to be effective with it. Just love what he's doing.
I think the only two ways he doesn't really shoot threes is just kind of spot up, just kind of pull up in front of somebody that's kind of sagging, which I think people just don't sag off of him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when number one, when do you see him, you know, dribbling the ball up? And number two, he never has that kind of room.
God, I would love to see him one night just when a team's on a run, just pull up for like a 40-footer, just heat check of immense proportions. Like I said, Gibson's been raked over the coals for 40 minutes the last 2 years by defenses. This is going to be the easiest 28 points he scores.
Yeah, no kidding. He had to feel good in this one. Not to mention, it was his 362nd three-pointer that he hit during this game to become the A10's all-time leader. That record was previously held, Zach, by Billiken killer Jimmy Barron of Rhode Island, a name that I kind of shudder a little bit every time I hear because he had some big performances against us.
That's what happens when you play the pack line defense against them.
Right.
And also, by the way, Gibson Jimerson is the A10 all-time leader in three-pointer. I don't care what anybody from Rhode Island has to say about that.
Yeah.
I just like to remind myself that Gibson Jimerson, 4 years in this kind of system, would probably. I don't think there's a ceiling there. Let's talk Robbie Avila. He had another good game. 14-9. 5 assists, 3 blocks. And like you said, he did have 5 of the 11 turnovers.
Yeah, and he made a huge three-point play when Bonaventure was down 4 late. That one to me was like, to make that a 3-possession game again was huge. It was decisive. So it's not just that he's putting up numbers in every game; he's coming up big in big moments as well. Not to mention, Zach, we talked about his defense earlier already, but I think it's improved considerably. And I do wonder how much of that has to do with his ankle getting better as opposed to him just, you know, figuring things out.
Yeah, I think it certainly does. I mean, you look at him bringing up the ball in that game and he's lighter on his feet. He's moving faster up the court. It's visually obvious. So yeah, I think you know that being comfortable again. I think some of the defensive woes were communication based, but again, when you're giving up easy buckets to bums, you know, you question what the hell's going on out there.
You do.
The Bonna fans, like I said, they seem to think that he got a favorable whistle on defense, and I get it. But, like, because he really does make defensive plays where you're like, that was certainly a foul.
He's just a different looking player. And I think a lot of it is a lot of people who don't see him game in and game out are just like, something's got to be off. Something's wrong here. He's doing something. It's like a lot of more casual fans coming in and watching Jokic and being like, wait, something doesn't look right here. Some of the things he's doing are different. He's just that kind of guy. He plays low to the ground, as we all know. He's an unusual looking player in his movements and everything he does. And I just I think, hey, maybe that throws the refs off too. But a lot of fans get mad at it because they're like, how is this guy good? It's just like, he's doing something, call him for something. So I don't know. Maybe that's dumb, but I do think there's some of that involved here.
Foul. No two fouls. You can't just have people flying through the air like that, Jackie. Isaiah Swope, by the way, the show as Rammer has taken to calling him. 16 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, led the team in plus minus.
Plus 9 in 39 minutes, which is funny because Jimerson in 40 minutes was, I think, plus 5. So
yeah, he's plus 5 because that's the game score.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Exactly. But I mean, I was thinking like, were they 4 or 6 points separate? But yes, Jimerson was plus 5 because that was the game score and he played the whole game. Swope missed 1 minute, and I guess we were
bad.
4 in that.
We were real bad.
It just shows you how valuable he's become. But he did manage 16 points despite being not particularly on. 3 of 10 from 3, 5 of 13 overall. Not his most efficient game, but 1 turnover out of him to go with 3 assists. And I just think he was really nice out there defensively too.
Dr. John on the broadcast was obsessed with his step back 3. And I decided for everybody, for him, I decided I took it upon myself, as one does. The next evolution of Isaiah Swope I want to see is when I watched Bonaventure players just absolutely sell out to stop his step back shot. Like, I want to see him figure out that Kwame reverse dribble and go by these dudes. Just absolutely clown on people. Yeah. I want to see him find a way to turn that step back into a fake and go.
There you go. I like that idea.
Let's talk about Warlick and Thames. 2 of probably the darlings of this game. You had Jimerson, who gets the number 1 star of the game. I think Warlick and Thames, just for their contributions, kind of out of nowhere, really deserve that 2nd and 3rd star.
I think just calling them sparks off the bench, is enough to give him a 2nd and 3rd star over Swope and Avila. You're gonna,
I'm gonna do it. I told you I like the bench. I told you people, I love the bench.
You don't need to tell. You've been telling us all season. You love nothing more than when these bench players come in. But
oh my god, dude, do you understand how much I lock into a game when these dudes get on the court? Oh, yeah. I love it. I get so excited. I get so hyped at the game.
Don't I know it? Thames had maybe the best sequence of the game. Late in the first half, a 3-pointer to tie it at 28, a block shot, a drawn foul, and then a dunk to take the lead. He did that all in under a minute. Just an incredible. That pass was from Avila too, I believe.
Well, and don't forget about the alley-oop in the second half.
Yes. Yeah, where he went up and kind of twisted and put it in. That was from Swope that time.
Well,
but we.
Oh, sorry. We're gonna talk about that in a minute when we talk about Schertz talking about them. So we'll get to that.
Gotcha.
But okay. Yeah.
So he did that too. That sequence was my favorite thing that he did in the game, though. He did leave the bench for a while in the second half as cramping flared up again. But he finished with 7 and 5. He had a block and a steal. And again, just so much energy. And Bonaventure didn't quite look ready for him. Warlick had 4 fouls in 15 minutes, or 16 minutes, I think, but had 3 assists and a nice finish too. He played his usual hard-nosed style, Zach. I mean, you gotta love this kid.
I love the kid. I love that he got so much run in this game. I would have liked to see obviously more bench. Everybody knows that, but I just it just seemed like he fits. You see where he fits. You see that he can come in the game and make plays. I mean, his passing is very, very good. Highly something that I don't think anybody really talked about much. I mean, he didn't get much play, obviously, but I gotta ask. There was talk about who Dylan Warlick reminded everyone of, and Luke Meyer was on the table. Stylistically speaking, Jordan Goodwin's on the table here. I think Dwayne Evans was kind of on the table at some point. What do you see from this guy?
He's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of those guys, right? I think, early on, I think, it was my buddy Joe who said he saw some Dwayne Evans in him a little bit. Luke Meyer's a good one. I'm a Luke Meyer fan. I thought cause we overlapped
slowest release in the league.
Yeah, but when he was open, you had to love it. He didn't put up numbers, but I just thought he was a really valuable utility guy, and that's what Warlick is, right? I mean, I think he just kind of does a bit of everything.
He showed it.
Said
exactly
his passing's
that.
good. I think his 3-pointer shot, his form looks excellent. I think he has a really polished form for a freshman. He's got a good physicality and he's fearless, he's going to be the guy that other fans irrationally hate because of his hair, because of his really tight shorts.
Yes.
That he looks like he's out of 1978 or something like that. And
All right.
the other thing that stands out to me is 4 fouls, right? He doesn't care. He's going to go out there and mix it up. And if he needs to hit a guy or jump on somebody for a loose ball or whatever it is.
That's how I played CYC.
I don't really care because he's not going to be playing 25, 35 minutes a game yet, right? It's just go out there, make plays, shake things up, create some mismatches, get your teammates involved, and set a tone. And I think he understands the assignment.
Yeah.
For somebody when you think of Josh Schertz's offense and what it is, you don't think of this guy, right? But when he goes out there, he really fits.
Yeah, I really think that he's the kind of guy that's going to succeed doing the things that Jordan Goodwin did. I think that's really how he succeeds. Maybe not, athletically speaking, he's certainly not a Jordan Goodwin. That's not many people are.
Yeah, that's not fair.
But again, I think he brings all of those kind of dirty, grimy skill sets and some. I think, where Goodwin was, not a good shooter. I think Warlick's a good shooter. I think, passing, they both pass really well. I think I see more out of Warlick, but that's just me, and that's probably recency bias. But I can't wait to see this kid's role expand even further. And I'd love to see the rest of the bench's role expand as well. Kobe Johnson didn't put up big numbers, but he had a decent game.
He's so valuable defensively. He's always going to be a little bit underrated for that reason when he's not putting up numbers. But I just thought he had a good 2-way game overall, moving the ball around on that end, and just really, really solid defense on the other end. When you look at Bonaventure and their guards, and I know he wasn't on the same guy the whole time or anything like that, but Chance Moore had a good game. There were some good moments out of some other guys, but
who's that guy that not their big man, the other guy that they're high on? I can't think of his freaking name.
Jones.
No,
Jonah Hinton.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
Well, Melvin Council is.
There we go. Thank you.
Melvin Council and Chance Moore are the ones who played 40 minutes in this game, right? And Chance Moore all season long had kind of been the leading scorer, but Council, as A10 play has come in, has really stepped up his game. He had an awesome game. I think it was Fordham who they played before SLU. And so I was kind of watching him as the guy to kind of worry about in this game. And he winds up scoring 10 points in 40 minutes. He was okay. He had 6 assists, but anyway, not shooting great. Anyway, Kobe he did a really good job defensively in this game against what I think is a pretty strong A10 backcourt. And The funny thing, Zach, is he did actually have a chance to get a little bit more involved offensively, especially shooting wise. But Schertz said he's passing up too many open looks. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like
I thought he did a couple times in this game, whether
yeah.
they were threes, and I think it was at least one or two inside the arc.
You hope he doesn't lack confidence in his own shot because he actually has had a few games where he's hit a couple of those, right?
Yeah.
He's not shooting a low percentage per se. He's just not shooting much volume. And so I think if he sees Swope or Avila or Jimerson who can get the ball, he's just going to get he's pretty unselfish and he's just going to get them more looks. But sometimes it's like Kobe, just take it.
Yeah.
Get involved. If we can have four guys scoring from the perimeter instead of three, I mean, by all means.
One of his major contributions was kind of a sweet little heads-up play. It was a beach ball tap of a saved pass. So the ball was saved by, I think, McCautry. Mm-hmm. It went to Johnson, who realized he wasn't going to have much time to do anything with it as the other player, the opposing player, was, descending upon him. And he just tips it to Avila, and that turns into a two as Avila drove down the lane and scored.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny, that dovetails nicely into these post-game quotes, Zach, because Schertz said guys are playing for the good of the group, making those, quote, invisible plays that help the team be successful. It's talent plus competitive character that drives winning. The magic's in the people and the magic's in the work. And I think we're seeing that in Kobe Johnson making all those kind of little plays, those heads-up plays, stuff like that to salvage what could have been an empty possession and get 2 points out of it. That stuff adds up over time. And in a close game like this is so meaningful. But we also have to get back to Thames, Zach. Schertz, after the game, said he just makes so many things happen. He's just so active. You see him out there and it warms your heart because you know how difficult it is for him, not knowing if that's ever going to be the case for him again. He then added that they thought Thames had all-conference potential this year as a sophomore, and combined with the previous line, it just kind of sounded ominous to me. Matt Rocchio after the game said it was more to do with playing 30-plus minutes again, not playing in general. But still, I didn't love it. Maybe I overreacted.
Yeah, I when you tweeted it, I kind of disagreed with you, but like I see where you could get that. I'm more optimistic about Thames' health than most, and I put in here because I missed it originally that it was disrespectful to put Thames so far down in the notes, and then I realized that like you had talked about him previously in the notes, and I just missed it. Probably because I was so excited about what Warlick brought in this game. But I know there were like athletic dunks in this one by Bonaventure. I know there was a super athletic dunk in the George Mason game where the guy drove down the lane and threw a hammer down. By the way, George Mason, social media stinks on ice. They added a like a backboard shattering to the video, and it's kind of embarrassing, guys.
Yeah, that's cheesy.
But I thought the most athletic dunk of the week was Thames alley-oop. I have no idea how he got this. It's a reverse alley-oop, and it should have been an and one.
Yeah, he went up for it. Swope threw it up there. It was not quite exactly where he wanted it, I don't think. And he kind of went up there and he twisted. I don't think he had to do a full 360, but he kind of had to twist. His whole body was twisted awkwardly. He got it in there. It was amazing, and he did it over a defender. I mean,
yeah.
I was so focused on what he was doing with that ball that I kind of wasn't necessarily paying attention to the Bona defender all the way, but it could have been a foul for all I know if he got under him a little bit there, made some contact.
It was just, I don't think the videos have given it justice. I don't think the social media videos gave it justice. I don't think the broadcast gave it justice, because I had an absolute fucking meltdown when he put that in the hoop. I went pure, like, it was 2012 and Zach was in the student section again. Like,
so truly one of those plays that live is where you appreciate it.
Oh God, yes. I mean, it doesn't make like it. The TV view just makes, again, you watch like the NBA and you're like, well, this doesn't look difficult, right? Like they're just doing everything, and it looks like, I still think that camera view makes things look so much easier. This was so impressive. It was shocking, genuinely, like I electrifying, truly.
Yeah.
I think this may be a hot take, Pete. I feel like his limited capacity is almost a blessing in disguise for this team, because Schertz is not, again, he likes to give his main guys run, and sure, it would be great to have Thames all the way through the game playing 30 minutes, but like being able to like play certain guys and then bring Thames off the bench is just like, it's a cheat code.
Yeah, and I don't. Oh boy, I would much rather have him fully healthy.
Absolutely, I want to
Sure.
Retroactively preface by saying that I would love for him to be completely healthy, but like opposing teams have no idea what they're gonna get, none, and he can come in fresh, quote unquote.
That's the point I was just about to make, is it makes the scout challenging, right? Because you're like, okay, here's this kid who might not be able to play today, or he might be good for 20 minutes, and we just don't know. And if he is good for 20 minutes, that's a problem, because he's 6'7", he's super athletic, and you just never quite know what he's going to do. So I imagine that unknown is tough to prepare for, because they're going to see big plays out of this kid and just wonder, are we going to see him 3 minutes? Are we going to see him 10 minutes? Like what are we going to get here?
Yeah. Again, like I said, it would be lovely if he was 100%, because holy shit, that really changes the equation.
Yeah, for sure. Zach, I think Bonaventure is a good team. You know, like, yes, I wrote this part of the notes before we saw that LaSalle loss, but still,
this is where I wish I had a soundboard where it's like, you sure about that?
They've got a strong top five. Like we said last week, they've got a combination of size, athleticism, solid on both ends. And yeah, you can laugh about that now after the follow-up performance to that. But I think the Billikens overcame some cold stretches against them and played a sound, selfless game. And I was really impressed with this win.
Yeah, and sometimes too selfless. But by the way, I think the audience is super happy I don't have a soundboard. Like Schertz said about Warlick and Johnson, they pass up open shots, and I think I love this team's, the amount they share the ball and the amount of assists that we get on made buckets. But I right now, I think this team is starting to really find itself, and I don't know what the ceiling is right now.
No, I think you just have to say, we'll call it for one seed in the A10 is the ceiling, right? I think our floor has moved up considerably, because I think before people were saying, oh, they're in that squishy middle tier of this conference, that 6 to 10 range, those middle five, we don't know who's who yet. And SLU said, oh, no, we're not in that middle. We're a top 5 team. So forget all that noise. And the question is, are we number 1?
Yeah.
Are we number 3?
And the answer to that right now, on January 13th, as you listen to this, the Billikens, the St. Louis University Billikens, are the lone undefeated team in the conference, sitting atop the standings, Pete. Did you think a month ago we'd be sitting here saying that?
I didn't. I really didn't. I would have looked at these first 3 games and thought, it'd be nice to go grab, Fordham on the road. I don't know. I don't think we're there against Bonaventure yet. I think that's going to be a loss. I never would have thought 3-0 was on the table. I'm thrilled with it. And it is crazy to look at the standings, Zach, and it feels like a very long time since we've been in first place. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 one-loss teams.
Everybody does this where they freak out over the log jam and second, at a certain, and it's like, that's what happens 3 games in.
Yeah,
people.
Mathematically,
that's what happens. What are you talking? Well, check out how many people are log jammed at second in whatever conference, and you're like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of one loss teams, but the
Oh,
thing
we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to
the
the
thing
standing.
that's fun is when we coming into the season, some of the teams that we thought were going to be, zero or one loss teams right now, like Bonaventure, St. Joe's, Dayton, Loyola, they all have 2 losses. And then the one loss teams are teams like George Mason, Davidson, George Washington, Duquesne. Yes, VCU is one that's not surprising, but those other 4 I think are all going to go down over the course of the year. So it's almost like we kind of have a little bit of a buffer,
Yeah.
between us and the rest of the league right now. And yeah, we'll see where things go, but right now it feels really good.
Um. I do want to finish up with a minorly negative issue. More so in the production at Chaffetz. Like if anyone at SLU is listening or watching, please, dear God, please stop the Billiken Clap. Please
Mm.
stop. It is hear me out. Like I just the Chaffetz is rolling, right? Like when Chaffetz is going, you don't have to manufacture like fan interaction. The fans are going, and to stop them, like you talk about like inertia, right? Something at rest will stay at rest and act upon. Something in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon. Like the fans are in motion. They are loving what they're seeing. You don't need to have Dre come out there and announce exactly what we're gonna do and give a thing and then go into the build club. Like if you want to have Dre come out and like you don't need to transition. Like come on, like where he does the call and response, Saint and Lewis. Like just come out and be like, Billiken fans, let me hear you, Saint. Like or have him come out and get with the band who's doing the SAINT and like get on the mic and do it with the band. Like let him ad lib and not necessarily stick to you. Just it's just so canned and especially the Billiken clap. I don't think it's needed, especially when the game is going well. And I don't want to say it, but the Bana comeback started right after the Billiken clap. I'm just throwing that out there. Like Dre does an awesome job, and I think like he is an MC. He's a rapper. He's a hip hop artist. Like
Hmm.
he knows how to work a crowd. Let him just feed off that energy. Don't just like let him kind of improvise that. Pick and choose something to do. So like yeah, if the fans are a little out of it and we're down, like then come up with something to get it going. But like the Billiken clap, it's just unoriginal. Like it was cool when the Icelandic people did it during the World Cup or the
Yeah.
Euros or whatever. But like it's not the Billiken clap, guys. It just we could do without it. Just get the band involved. Let the band play out. The fans feed off that, man. Um,
Yeah, there's something that just feels manufactured about all
yeah,
of it. Yeah.
I just don't think you need to, especially again in that moment we were beating Bonaventure. Like the
Yep.
fans were into the game. They were loving the atmosphere, and then you don't stop the fans to get them to do something else. Encourage what they're already doing.
Right.
That's what I'm kind of talking about when I talk about like inertia and whatnot. Finally, the theme ticket, Pete, for this game.
That's really
Um,
cool.
yeah, I like it. I think it was $10 right for any season ticket holder who already had tickets. The only thing I think again it's $10, so I didn't expect much. Honestly, I thought it was going to be literally the same cup as they did the Cardinal theme. I thought they just like ended up buying them for like a buck a piece or something off the Cardinals.
Hmm.
That's not the case. So kudos to the athletic department. I think the only thing like again, it's like a $10 cup, and of course, I'm having trouble getting the lid off. But as you do that, as you kind of work with it, like the lid does kind of loosen after a while. That's really the only thing I've really found that's kind of lame about it, or not, not super well done. But also, you can tell because it's got screws in the handle,
Mm.
so you can actually like remove like the handles. It's two piece. But honestly, I don't like the handle, so I may actually just unscrew and take off the handle.
Yeah.
I'm just not a handle guy, and I don't really use a lid either, so I don't really the lid doesn't bother me. So again, it's great, it's well made. I'll be interested to see how long the graphic lasts.
Hmm.
But yeah, super happy with this. Super glad I got it, and it's gonna be right here for the next 200 podcast episodes we do, hopefully. So
That's
great
right.
great job on this SLU athletic department. I'm interested to see what the hat it looks like. I'm not necessarily a rope hat guy. Like the hat that has the rope across
Sure.
the base of the crown. I'm just not. That's just not my thing. But I might get it. It's $10, right?
Yeah, the rope hat thing. It's one of the kind of throwback hat trends
Everything's
kinda,
everything's
every kind of yeah. There's something a little bit like 80s uncle on a boat about it. But I don't know if I can pull it off either. But we'll try. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Again, I think all full marks for this. This is great. Oh, I had a really embarrassing moment because I got it, and I went to the water fountain to get some water, and I threw away the box, and I assumed there was no instructions anyway. But I couldn't figure out if it was like a pry-off lid or a twist-off lid. So I'm standing at the water fountain for because it's like when you first get it, it's such a small lid that it's hard to get a grip on. And I couldn't figure it out, and I'm just standing there for 5 minutes, and I see Tony Breitbach. I go, Tony, please help me. I look like a moron. Can you tell me if this is screw off or not?
Tony, this is why you are Dr. Breitbach,
Yeah,
right?
yes. I said, Tony,
this?
you're a very smart guy.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Let's talk about what's coming next for the Bills. Tuesday the 14th at VCU. Pete, I talked about it in the Discord today. I think we can win this game. In fact, I know we can win this game. But my tiny little monkey brain cannot wrap my head around us winning at the Siegel Center because it's never happened before.
It has never happened, Zach. It has never happened. If we can kind of look for some signs, maybe the whole water issue in Richmond that had no tap water in VCU's arena last
week. That's a high quality 8-2-0.
maybe some of the weirdness that's just kind of gone on because of the cold winter weather lately is one thing, but also Ryan Odom's VCU is a little bit different than previous versions, right? They're still good. They're 12-4 in his second season, 2-1 in the A10 with that loss at St. Bonaventure and the wins at Loyola and then at home against Fordham. In the non-conference, they basically won the games that they were supposed to win and then lost 3 of 4 of their tough games. They lost at New Mexico and then neutral games against Seton Hall and Nevada. A neutral site win over Colorado State, by far their best win. Their top 5 scorers are all senior guards. Joe Bamisiel and Max Shulgar are the top 2, both listed at 6'4" and just under 200 pounds, both around 16 points a game, just under 6 rebounds a game. Bamisiel shoots more. He's not quite as efficient. Shulga is a 41% three-point shooter. He gets to the free throw line more, where he's good. He's also a better passer, doesn't turn it over as much. Just a kind of a more disciplined player. Phil Russell's the third guy, and we know about Phil Russell. Yes, former SLU player Phil Russell. He's averaging 12.2 for the season, but scoring a lot more in conference play so far. I think he was at like 25 and 26 in their first 2 conference games. As we know, he's only 5'10", but he's a good shooter. He's over 81% from the free throw line. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder against his former team.
Does he? How much of a chip does he have? Like, that's a great that's a great point, but also none of the people are still here. Like, does he hate Chris May too?
Hey, we all say we're rooting for Laundry, right?
That's true.
I can't get inside the psyche of every athlete. How many times do you see people who have been ranked all year long come on and say nobody believed in us when they win a title? Whoa, we were preseason number 2 and now we're number 1 and nobody believed in us. It's like most people believed in you. Yeah. So I can't pretend to understand what motivates athletes, but I would think he can at least manufacture some of that. So anyway, he's been good lately. Got to be ready for him. Zeb Jackson is the 4th guy. He comes off the bench to score 10.5 points a game. Jack Clark usually starts. He's a 6'8" wing, averages about 7 and 7. He's not a good shooter, but he can get to the rim. Tough matchup there. 6'10" center Christian Fermin usually starts but splits time with a British freshman named Luke Bamboye. I cannot say his last name easily because it's got a bunch of consonants in a row in the middle.
Uh,
But he's
just
about
not
the same
just
height.
not built that way.
Right. So Fermin's a little more productive as a scorer, but the freshman is an outstanding shot blocker. They're both good, but that kid, he's blocking almost 3 a game in like 16 minutes played a game. So
I feel like we've struggled against good shot blocking teams, but again, which team are we getting, right? I don't think we've played a good shot blocking team since the kind of the cosmic shift.
yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. But they are a good shot blocking team overall, mostly due to those two, but they do have good length at most positions. Even if they don't have a ton of height in the lineup on paper, they remain a very good defensive team, as VCU always is. They allow 62.5 points a game. They're one of the top teams in the nation in 3-point defense. Teams shoot just over 30% from three and under 40% overall against them. So they really bring out the worst in other offenses. They score a lot more than previous VCU teams, though. But when you get outside the top 4, things get pretty shaky offensively. Bamasil and Shulga can go off. Russell obviously has done a couple times lately, but you can also bait Bamasil into bad shots. Like that guy will shoot and shoot and shoot. Sometimes he's feeling it. Sometimes he's just bricking it, right? Clark too. I imagine Slew's going to give him some space on the perimeter because he's hitting just 17% of his threes on almost 4 attempts per game. So you're going to see Schertz challenge him to shoot, and hopefully we don't have like a UMass Lowell situation where we tell these bad shooters to shoot and they start making shots. But as a team, they shoot almost 33 pointers a game, which is high, but they make about 31.5%, which is a little low. If you keep the top 4 from getting good shots, you can really keep them to 30% or lower. If SLU's going to win this game, they've got to do that, but they also have to rebound. VCU hits the offensive glass harder than Bonaventure, and they're good at getting second chances. That's the thing that kind of scares me the most. If you slow down their transition game, own the defensive glass, don't let their top few shooters get good looks, you win this game, right? It's a big challenge, like you said, Zach, in a gym where SLU has never won, though.
Yeah, I think we have just as good a shot as any other year that we've played at the Siegel Center. I think this might be our best shot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we've had teams that were much better on paper at this point in the season, but something feels different right now.
No.
And it's a good VCU team, but it's a beatable VCU team. And we're right at that kind of threshold of the teams that they've played so far where we're a hard one to predict. They normally take care of business against inferior teams, but I think this is a hard game to call.
Pete, let's move right down the road from the Siegel Center to whatever the hell they're calling the arena over at Richmond now.
I think it's still the Robbins Center.
The Robbins
if I'm
Center.
not mistaken, even after the renovation, which is really nice, by the way. And I originally was going to be at this game, but now instead of going to visit my brother, he is bringing his baby to St. Louis, and we're going to be in St. Louis this weekend to watch the game from a distance, I guess. But the Spiders are 7-10 in Chris Mooney's 20th season in charge. They are 2-2 in conference after a surprising 2-0 start with wins over UMass and George Washington, but they have since lost to George Mason and Rhode Island. This was the A10's lowest rated team after non-conference play. They were 5-8 against a very weak schedule. GW at home is by far the best win on their whole schedule. The fact is they just don't have the talent or experience that they used to. Or that they usually do, I guess I should say. Think about those Richmond teams that we faced during the 40 years. They always had guys who stayed 4 or 5 years, knew how to play together, bigs who could shoot, good guards, which is what Mooney needs in this slow, conservative style. And the worst news that he could have gotten, their top scorer, Delaney Hunt, is now out for a couple months after suffering a foot injury this week. The next guy is Dusan Neskovic, a 6'7" Bosnian forward who averages about 14 and 4, but he scored 28 in their last game, the first one without Hunt. So it's clear who the new number one is. They've got a 5'10" sophomore guard named Michael Tyne who will be asked to step up with Hunt out. Jonathan Beagle's a matchup challenge at 6'9", 240.
That's a big boy.
9 and 5 off the bench, yeah. But Michael Waltz is even bigger.
Wait,
6'11", 250, and he averages about 8 and 6. He's probably going to get the start, but they tend to split minutes based on matchups, foul trouble, stuff like that. Jason Roche, I can't remember how to say his name, is a 6'5" wing who is not much of a scoring threat, but he's a decent rebounder. They've got a 6'7" wing from Greece. I'm not even going to bother with his name, who could be a challenging assignment on both ends. He did play 40 minutes against Rhode Island this week, too. So SLU's going to be giving up height everywhere but the point guard position. But they will have a huge advantage in skill, athleticism, and age. A top three of Avila, Jimerson, and Swope should absolutely have their way with this team. Anya, he gives up size to those bigs, but he's going to be able to maneuver for rebounds. Johnson has length and experience over their guards. This is a matchup that could be a breakout game for a healthy Kellen Thames if he's able to play more minutes, because I don't think they have anybody who could really stop him. They have no toughness, Zach. Like, this is a soft team, which makes it a nice game to give someone like Warlick some bench minutes if I'm going to try and get a little, clever here. SLU has struggled on the defensive glass at times, but Richmond just doesn't go after offensive rebounds. They send all 5 guys back. Think about those Soderberg teams where a shot went up and they're going the other way. We did that in practice. Offensive rebounding is not part of the system. They're also a terrible three-point shooting team. They're under 30% at a pretty high volume.
So they're going to shoot 50% in this game. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Well, they're a good free throw shooting team, though. You've got to be disciplined to keep them off the line. I don't think they're going to beat us from 3, knock on wood. They're not as strong defensively as Richmond typically is. They don't block shots. They don't create steals, which isn't a surprise. They do foul a lot more than we're used to seeing, though. So they're just not there yet where they need to be defensively to make this system work. They don't turn it over much. That's a hallmark of their system. A lot of that is just because they play so slow. It's a lot fewer possessions in their games than you typically see. SLU's just going to have to score efficiently, maybe get some offensive rebounds. The only thing that gives me pause here, Zach, is that it's a conference road game. SLU will have been in Richmond for 5 days when they play this game. Otherwise, I think this is the worst Richmond team we've seen in a while. We got to beat these guys.
Yeah, I think a split is the bare minimum that we can ask for, even if we're talking about the Billikens halfway to where they're at now, right? Even if they haven't taken the major leap that I think they have, I think this is absolutely a team you got to beat.
It really is. It really is. I look at this, and they were bad in the non-conference, and I just think with the way SLU's playing lately, and that effort's up at both ends, when you're playing a team that is a lot weaker than they normally are, they're still trying to figure it out. They've got no toughness, and they've lost their number one guy. I'd say, go on the road and make a statement the way we did it for them.
Let's go around the A10, what everybody has been waiting for since we hit record, Pete.
That's right.
Let's start off with Wednesday the 8th. Loyola 79, LaSalle 68. That one we're not too crazy. We're dipping the toes in. We're warming you up here. Yeah. But you don't got too long, because UMass 76, Dayton 72. Pete,
I wrote in the notes, ha 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 ha.
It's beautiful. I love it.
I don't really have anything else to say. The sense of entitlement and superiority and all of the other BS that this Dayton fan base has been spitting in our faces all season long. And again, we gave them a lot of credit for their non-conference schedule, their non-conference performance.
Insane.
But they have absolutely belly flopped off the high dive in conference play so far, going 1-2 and losing to UMass, a program. They're terrible this season. They've got 1 foot out the door. To lose this game, Zach, is mystifying.
What the hell is happening over at Dayton?
I really don't know. They've like us. They've had a long stretch off. Hopefully they're figuring things out. But they've lost 3 of their last 4 now. When you include that Cincinnati game and then the first 3 conference games.
But have you told me that Dayton was 1-2 in conference now.
Yeah.
I mean, we gotta figure out what the hell to do about this conference. It doesn't all these conferences are doing the same thing. Like this isn't unique to the A10. I've been watching way more basketball, like more intently than I usually do lately. Like I've had a lot more time, and I see this shit everywhere. You've got horrible teams in the SEC beating the best teams in the SEC. You've got horrible teams in the Big 12 beating. Like, this isn't unique. What the fuck does the A10 have to do to, like, get us to a point where we've got multi-bids and teams are just beating up on the, like, you happen to lay an egg. Like, I don't know what this conference has to do.
I don't know either, and I can't answer from a conference level. I just, it's on every individual program to get it together, and we just haven't been able to do that. But what I will say about this Dayton team that's important to note is they did not play a true road game in their non-conference. They played the neutral tournament out in Hawaii, where they lost 2 of 3 before shocking UConn in that last game. That Cincinnati game wasn't a true road game. That was on a neutral floor. They lost that. And so the first true road games they played were George Washington and UMass, and they lost both of them, right? So I don't know if there's something to be said about I think they're just awesome at home and not really good as soon as they get on a plane and go somewhere else.
What did I tweet that I think I tweeted that home court advantage in the A10 is in a packed arena. It's a stale Northeast gym in the middle of February.
I think that's honestly one of the smartest things you've ever written. I think that's so painfully true about this league, right? The winning conference road games in this league is so. I think of all the performances over the years that have just been dumbfounding in places like George Washington or
LaSalle.
Richmond. Yeah, we're playing a blizzard game on the road in front of 1,200 people in one of these Northeast cities. And
I mean, how many games have we seen at home here in Chaffetz? But like, it's our arena and it's dead, and then our team comes out dead.
Yeah. So it's a tough league. But anyway, the one thing I would say about Dayton is just look at where they've played their games, and I think there's got to be something there. Like as soon as they leave UD Arena, they can't play, with the exception of that UConn game. But that was the 7th place game, so UConn had a rough week.
No tap wall. Oh wait, I had something I was going to say about Dayton. I just don't know. It is funny that they consistently just talk about how they are the flagship of the conference. The Big East wants it. Like no, Xavier doesn't want you there. Like, sorry, I still think like. People will call me a homer for it, but my opinion is that SLU is the one school that offers something that none of the other A10 schools can offer, and that is a brand new media market to the Big East. So if SLU can get good and stay good, like they've got a much better case than anybody else, which is the catch.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that the Big East is looking to expand. I'm saying that SLU is the most marketable when it is doing well and it is, winning, because we are the only A10 school that's private, matches the Big East, and has a major media market to bring along.
Yeah, and Dayton technically is a separate media market than Cincinnati, but I don't know if it's a particularly enticing one, being the 4th or 5th biggest in Ohio. So I don't know, man. I just Dayton
losing warms my heart.
It more than anything in the world, it makes me more, aside from SLU winning, watching Dayton lose games that they're not supposed to lose, delightful.
VCU 73, Fordham 61. No tap water, no problem, Pete.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. That was they were under a boil order in the city of Richmond that day, and they still played the game. But
Jesus, what? Weren't there 2 games in the A10 that had no fans? I think we'll get to one on Saturday.
No fans Was that what it was? The game at Richmond that I think was also under a
Boyle order.
boil order.
Oh, okay. Okay. The Mason Richmond game. Okay.
Right.
Duquesne 85, St. Joe's 81. This was a wild OT finish. David Dixon, some clutch play in overtime to finish this one. Also a crazy loss for St. Joe's and their immense talent that Billy Lang seems so he just seems so committed to just wasting.
He really does. Duquesne, by the way, is starting to figure things out. That's 5 wins in their last 6 games. They were really shaky in the non-conference. They finished strong though, and they're 2-1 in the league. So I don't know, something to keep an eye on. But that's not a game that St. Joe's is supposed to lose.
Mason 64, Richmond 58, adding insult to injury. We mentioned in the preview, Delani Hunt, the top scorer for Richmond, went out with a foot injury, out for about 8 weeks. 75-67, George Washington over Rhode Island in the battle of, is either team for real, Pete? I don't think either of them are.
Yeah, and Rhode Island had a couple of players out for this game, so I'm not sure it's a definitive answer. And I don't know the status of those players, by the way, because as we'll see, they did wind up winning over the weekend. But neither of those teams am I taking seriously right now.
Two wild finishes on Saturday. Pete, run us down the entire slate.
Yeah, I'm going to go backwards though, as I have it, so we can spend a little more time on that.
I love it. I love it.
George Mason 77, UMass 70, Davidson 74, Fordham 64. Not a lot to say about either of those.
Those games somehow ended up close. They were like both winning teams pulled away by like 25 or 20 early, and I'm probably exaggerating about that number, but they somehow got close down the stretch.
Right. Yeah, they did. But otherwise, those are shrug games, They don't really tell me much of anything. St. Joe's 93, Loyola 67. Here's the other version of St. Joe's, the one that doesn't lose to Duquesne. Loyola is depleted after injuries, but this is, that's a big number for a conference game. Rhode Island 67, Richmond 64 in overtime. Sebastian Thomas of Rhode Island hit yet another game winner for the Rams. I think that's 4 this year, if not 5 that he's got already. So
those shorts he wears look a lot like clutch jeans.
They're winning close games. I think they're a little dinged up now. I still don't think they're very good, but they are a team I wouldn't want to be in overtime with. There's a little magic in giving that guy a ball when you need to make a shot. But Zach, the game we really need to talk about. LaSalle 83, Bonaventure 82, overtime at St. Bonaventure. LaSalle won it on an inbounds play with, I think, 4.4 seconds left. A running Deuce Jones three-pointer that went in, 0.3 seconds left to go. 2 defenders collided, may have bumped the shooter too, but it didn't matter. He banked in the shot. Congrats to our friends, the Gola boys. Olney fans, as they call themselves, and condolences to our pal SB Unfurled. This was a bad performance by the Bonnies. I'll hand it to you in just a second, but I just want to say, watching the end of the second half and the overtime here, they were so tentative on offense, and LaSalle was playing with so much more confidence at both ends, right? Like Bonaventure was still like kind of doing their thing defensively, the bend, don't break, solid defense, not fouling kind of thing. But LaSalle had like all the swagger in the world at both ends. So much more energy. And I was just like, you're in front of your home crowd. You're coming back from only your second loss of the season at St. Louis. What are you doing? Why do you look like this? And like, I wasn't impressed with what Mark Schmidt was running at all. I just thought, you've got better players, act like it, right? Act like it. And so this game was kind of, the way that this one ended was just so confusing to me. I don't know what you saw, but this was nuts. I really unexpected.
Well, first of all, I saw that three-pointer coming from a mile away.
You did tweet that. Here's where Here's where LaSalle hits a 3 at the buzzer, and man, were you right.
Yeah. It was amazing. I was kind of sitting back and literally was just like, yeah, they're gonna hit a 3-pointer to win. I don't see any other alternate reality here.
Right.
And sure as shit. By the way, the camera loved the Gola boys. I
Oh,
can't
man.
believe how much airtime the Bonaventure cameraman gave them.
Yeah, I mean there couldn't have been that many LaSalle fans because they kept finding the same group and the guys that we've had on the show a couple times. My favorite, Zach, was when the Bonnie's mascot came down and sat next to them at the end of the the end of the game, and a regulation, I guess I should say, and so there's one frame of them, the Bonaventure mascot, that wolf. Is his name Riley or is it just Bona Wolf?
I don't know.
Anyway,
Riley would be a good name.
So right after they bank in that 3, there's a picture of the wolf with his hands over his eyes, like just and like the goofy mascot head, looking dejected, and then the 2 Gola boys are standing next to him, looking at the phone because one of them took video of it.
By the way, I don't condone taking video at sporting events, but I'm glad they got the video. I'm anti taking a video.
They got the shot from their seats, and then in the next frame, the wolf has taken his hands off of his eyes, but you see one of them. I'm forgetting their names, by the way, their first names, and he's pointing down at the wolf and taunting it, like he's looking down at him and taunting because they've just reviewed his video and they know that shot counted. They know everything's good, and they know that Bonaventure doesn't have much time to even it out. And so Bonaventure's got the whole length of the floor, 0.3 seconds left on the clock, and that's not enough time for anything but a tip, which they couldn't get.
They got a nice little playoff. It just didn't convert.
Yeah, didn't have the receiver.
What a fun way to start, because that really did start off the day, I think.
Yes.
So that was a beautiful start to the day, and then everything kind of just went downhill from there, I thought, as far as entertainment value goes.
Yeah, your next overtime game is that Richmond, Rhode Island one, and being Richmond and Rhode Island, it was in the 60s despite having overtime, right? So
yeah, that's crazy.
Slow grinder among a lot of players who are injured and not playing well. So yeah,
the St. Joe's game was like watching the GW game over Dayton, except less exciting because I didn't care.
Because it wasn't Dayton on the other
end. Yeah.
Super injured Loyola team.
It was just ridiculous to see them just hit everything.
Mm-hmm.
Our survivor picks, the podcast pick is done. We rode Bonaventure over LaSalle. I did too. And so we're down to our my losers bracket and no more podcast pick. You are still alive and you took Bonaventure over Richmond.
I still feel good about it.
Yeah.
I still feel good about it. This is going to be, I guess, Richmond's game before us is they have to go out to St. Bonaventure on Wednesday. It's a tough assignment, right?
That Richmond, that may feel like the lead up will be more of like a home game for the Billikens versus Richmond.
That's actually an interesting point. We will have less travel that week than they will, right? Because we're just going to go out to VCU, play that game, and then we're going to come home Saturday after the Richmond game, which is an afternoon game. So yeah, I mean they're going to be out there all week, and Richmond's going to be coming back from Bonaventure. And there's been tough weather everywhere lately, so I don't know. Hopefully Richmond has smooth travel, right? Hopefully they're not too exhausted, being a little sarcastic, but yeah, anyway, I still feel like there's no way Bonaventure's going to lose 3 in a row, not against this team.
Some big news, one that I think West Pine Bills was very keyed in on, that the Billikens will opt into NCAA settlement, paving the way to pay athletes directly in 2025-26. Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, but this sounds like either the Billiken Athletics Department will absorb the Billiken Victory Fund money while the Billiken Victory Fund will still operate, or they will I don't know. Basically the money that the Billiken Victory Fund has raised will go under the athletic department banner at this point.
The money doesn't go away, but I think the Billiken Victory Fund does, because I think they just sort of bring it in house. Now, maybe they still call it that and they pretend it's its own thing, but it really
Well,
is
then you can't
functionally
donate.
now.
Well, I guess then you can't donate and get tax rebate or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to say our NIL effort is called the Billiken Victory Fund, that's
Yeah.
fine, but it's not going to be its own entity
Right.
anymore. Right. So yeah, Zach, Stu wrote an article about this on Tuesday, and I'll give some high level points of what we'd heard through that and otherwise. But we talked about VCU last week, right, and had some kind of open questions about what SLU might do. So here's a little bit of clarity on that. By opting into this recent court settlement, SLU will move money previously raised by the NIL collective into the athletic department's control, which allows for more revenue to be added by the university as well. The settlement is to be finalized on April 7th. Schools have until July 1st to opt in or opt out. So you're just starting to see schools kind of say what they're going to do. Chris May said that at SLU's level, most are probably going to opt in. Schools will be allowed to use up to 20 million in 2025-26. SLU does not have or need that amount.
It'd be
but
nice if
it would
anybody
be
wants to
nice.
pop up with 20 mil.
Yeah, right. If I become a billionaire tomorrow unexpectedly,
Oh, buddy.
maybe I'll make a statement. But basically, they're going to have to raise funds on top of what the collective has already brought in. As a reminder, VCU was looking at a ceiling of about 5 million for next year. 4 to 5 million was their range. One advantage of moving funds previously under the collective into the university is that contributions can be tax deductible. So maybe that'll make people be a little more generous with those NIL
I wonder what
donations.
I wonder what the kind of strategy is, because you have the Billiken Victory Fund that has this money,
Mhm.
and all of these people that have donated money under the previous, you know, legislation or whatever you want to call it, that hasn't been dispersed yet. I wonder if they somehow try to work a way to funnel that money back to the people and then back to the I don't know, because I mean then you can allow tax deduction and maybe you see people give more at that point.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I do think the tax deductible
No, it's
feature
huge.
is important. Yeah, I do. I know they tried
It
to pull that initially when these collectives
yeah.
got off the ground, and I was just like, "There's no way that's going to fly." But yeah, now that it can, that's you know, there will be some more legal questions to iron out, but I think that part of it, at least,
I think the way I kind of see this going down, and West Pine Bill's pointed something out in the Discord, is it kind of they think that Matt Jacobsy will be kind of the lead, person over this, but I still think that you'll see kind of Troy and those involved with the Billiken Victory Fund be that marketing arm, maybe not in any sort of official capacity, maybe in the same way they are, but instead of the money being funneled to the Billiken Victory Fund, it will be funneled directly to the athletic department.
yeah, I think you're right. I think this is kind of, we talked about this a long time ago, right? Like that other schools were using managers for their
Yeah.
collectives, like outside managers, and I thought that would probably be a big benefit. So Troy and these other guys don't have to worry about the administrative side of
Mm-hmm.
things. They can just go sell, and that's kind of what happens now, right? So look, athletic departments will see.
By the way, I'm available for a sales role for this. I can sell this.
I think you can. I think you can. You got, if you need a letter of recommendation, let me know.
Thank you.
I'm a former athletic department insider.
Employee, yeah. Yeah.
Janet knows.
Did
Yeah,
we?
but athletic departments will see decreased revenue from the NCAA in the coming years as part of this settlement. So that will need to be made up elsewhere, which is kind of important to note. And the settlement involves a lot of other pieces, including roster changes in all sports. Basketball, as a reminder, is moving to 15 scholarships next season. So these are all kind of interrelated things to keep in mind. But It's good to have some clarity just a week after we had found out about what VCU was going to do. I was worried we would just never hear anything. I don't think SLU is going to give as much information as a VCU just because of cultural
I was surprised,
reasons
honestly,
and
that I was surprised that Chris May made a statement on this as that is outside of the norm.
yeah, I don't think they're going to get into dollar figure, targets or details or anything like that. But I am pleased to know that we at least got some clarity on what they're going to do.
And I think both of us agree that transparency is, I think, the best way to keep fans engaged and keep fans
Yes.
interested. So
More,
I think
more
we both,
information.
I think we both are applauding, Chris Mann, the athletic department, for coming out and saying something about this and making sure that Billiken fans weren't having mental breakdowns, wondering what the hell that the athletic department was doing to maintain their basketball program.
That's right. Yep, you're absolutely right.
Pete, let's talk about recruiting, because that still happens even in the age of paying players directly. We've got a guy named Cedric Tomez.
Yeah, I've just been calling him Cedric Tomes. I don't know, but he's a 2026 recruit, a 6'1" point guard out of East Ridge High School in St. Paul, Minnesota. He plays his AAU for D1 Minnesota, which is an Adidas program. Really solid floor general, smart player, great vision, good handles, passing, playmaking, all of that stuff. He really lets the game come to him. He plays at a good pace. He moves well, changes speeds, directions really fluidly. He's got a quick release and deep range on his shot. It wasn't surprising to me. Once I found this out, it made a lot of sense on the video that I watched of what he does, but he also plays quarterback for his high school football team. So he has that mentality as a point guard as well, right? He really likes to have the whole court in front of him and run things. It's kind of cool to watch. His other offers right now: Minnesota, the local program, Oklahoma, Iowa State, Drake, Northern Iowa, and Bryant. It's interesting to me that he's only got 6 offers, and half of those are power conference schools. It's usually by the time you start getting those, you've got more lower level offers. But that to me just says that there's opportunity here. Another name I just want to point out really quickly, we haven't offered, but there's a kid at Sunrise Christian Academy, a 4-star in the same class, 2026, 6'8" wing named Aiden Chronister, really good 3-point shooter. As I said, he's 6'8", so he's got good size. He's a really versatile defender, puts the ball on the floor, can attack the rim. But anyway, he said just the other day he's hearing from SLU in addition to Arkansas, Alabama, Indiana, Baylor, Xavier, Oklahoma, Mizzou, Arizona State, Texas, Oklahoma State. So a lot of big, powerful, blue blood Power 5 conferences represented there, and SLU. So I like that we're getting in the mix and recruiting a kid with that profile. I think that's impressive. Haven't offered yet, but anyway, just wanted to shout that out.
Pete, I want to talk a little 2 Men in a Garden, but first, I think we need to talk about this brand new home field drop, and my God, is it gorgeous.
Yeah, it really is, Zach. There's 5 new pieces in here, and some of these I recognize from the 90s, my era. But the first thing you're pulling up here, this vintage heavyweight tee, as people know by now, if they've known me for any amount of time, this is my favorite Billiken, and I really like the look of this thing.
Yeah, I this isn't my favorite. Clearly, I've got one that I really absolutely adore, and I'm super excited about. But yeah, this one is just, it's that classic crown Billiken that I think a lot of people remember and are fans of. I'm trying to get out of I don't know what is happening. There we go. Yeah, and this one, it comes in 2 different shirts, right? It comes in a heavyweight tee for 46, which seems, it's a little bit more, but I think you're getting a little bit more solid shirt product. It's not going to be that tri-blend if you're looking for maybe a heavier look. But they do have the tri-blend in this specific one. Again, the Billiken with the crown. I like it. I kind of wish it said, "Oh, when the Bills go marching in," but again, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah, it says, "Oh, when the Saints go marching in."
And then we've got This one, which is, I remember this one specifically. I think most people will remember this with a red outline.
Yes, that's a Spoonball era
Yeah.
font for sure.
By the way, I'm not blocking the.
Just the L. No, you're
Oh,
fine. You
okay,
can see
cool.
the overall thing. But this is a long sleeve tee. It's in blue, kind of a blue heather, I think, and white lettering. It's got St. Louis, a ball, SLU diagonally in the middle. And if you can just like close, if you're not watching us and just listening, close your eyes and picture the font of some of the stuff you would see in kind of the mid 90s on like a warm up,
Yep.
something like that. And like Zach said, with a thin red outline, that'll kind of take you to the era of this thing.
By the way, I think that's the first long sleeve tee they've done
It is.
for the Bills. Yeah.
Yep.
This one is by far my favorite. I cannot wait to get my hands on this thing. The color of the garment, the running Billiken, the sheer size of the logo. I mean, it is just it's gorgeous. Everything about this is absolutely gorgeous. The colors are they just pop. It's beautiful.
1960s era dribbling Billiken. This did show up on a T-shirt in their first release of Slew Stuff a year or two ago. Whenever it was a couple years now.
No, gosh, that was
It
2022.
was on a gray T-shirt, but this is completely different. It's blue. The colors really pop. It's got Billikens in a huge font. It's all very playful, but at the same time, kind of like cool and classic and really fun. And like you said, it just looks great. I can't wait to get mine either. Hopefully next week when you're watching this, I will be wearing this.
Yes. And then finally, this one, I mean, I think this feels exclusively 94.
Yeah.
It feels
very much
94.
So. Yeah, because they've got the arena on here. So this is that era of
Is
the
that
90s.
the older? No, that's Keel.
Yeah, but sorry, I meant the I didn't mean the capital A arena, the
Yeah.
lowercase a arena. They normally wouldn't put the Keel Center on there if it wasn't a big deal. So
That's pretty wild.
95 was the first year.
That's a pretty wild thing to really go back and include because it's a company that doesn't exist anymore, by the way, which is beautiful. I'm assuming somebody owns that trademark though at the still or no?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. But you've got that classic triangle design here. You've got the St. Louis, sideways down the right side. It's a good looking shirt.
It's very 90s. Everything about it is very 90s. The shapes on shapes with different fonts, different bold colors. Like, yeah, it's super 90s.
I think this one hits the college kids. This is going to be, you're going to see this one. This is the kind you'll see the 21, 22-year-olds hanging out at Humphreys wearing. I think this hits that niche for sure. Again, thank you to Home Field. They've always been really supportive whenever we've reached out to them and have reached out to us for information on clothes. Like old logos, any old pictures. They will reach out and ask about them, and so it's awesome. They really do their work, and they really understand what it takes to put out a great product.
So yeah, they just really get it, and I appreciate what they do. I really like the look and feel of their stuff, and I'm excited to get this stuff because I just ordered it all. So.
Pete, as much as I am, a huge fan of Home Field, I am an even bigger fan of Two Men in a Garden.
I am too, Zach, and I told everybody that I blended 3 different jars together recently, and I'm still working my way through that and absolutely loving it. And I really love the versatility of this product. I think I've got 2 taco recipes lined up this week. We're gonna do kind of a Chipotle clone. So my kids can get Chipotle without us having to go out in the freezing cold this week when it's single digits to get Chipotle. So I'm going to do that recipe and then just kind of a regular, gringo taco Tuesday style recipe another night. So This goes great on both of those. It's gone great on a few things that I've done already, and just for snacking purposes. So don't be afraid to go get some stuff at 2 Men in a Garden. Mix it up, experiment, whatever you want to do. I'm pretty loyal to them now. I really like their stuff. It's good. It's well made, just, locally owned. It's all the kind of stuff that makes you feel good about supporting this company, and they support us too. So you should feel extra good about that. So go over to twomeninthegarden.com and check out their whole lineup now.
Yeah, they were a part of taco night this week as well. We made some pork tacos, and I went and got the the yellow onion or whatever, and the cilantro, and made my street tacos that I love. And we brought the 2 Men in a Garden to the table, and it's a hit. Also, the pickles were a hit. Pickles have been a huge hit. Shout out 2 Men in a Garden again.
Get those pickle spears.
Yeah, we got the spears. That's what they sent over for me.
They're great.
Let's see. Do we really have to talk about this women's basketball game? Holy shit.
Zach, we do.
It is. I mean, I don't know what the hell this team is doing, but there is no competitive fire. I don't know if I can even say that. I don't understand what's happening with this team. It's so difficult to watch right now.
It is. And this game, Zach, was on Wednesday the 8th, a 68-66 loss at St. Bonaventure. I don't have a positive spin here. This loss is just really, really bad. St. Bonaventure was winless in A10 play, generally thought to be the worst team in the league heading into this game. And yes, it was up there at St. Bonaventure, hard place to go play. Peyton Kennedy was unavailable.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Like who even cares?
Yeah.
Right? Like this is a bad team that you gotta beat. And we said it heading into this game, and they had a rough go in their first 3 games, and they had this game in hand. They had it. They were up 10 at the end of the first quarter, up by 10 again at halftime. They led by 10 at multiple points in the fourth quarter. St. Bonaventure hit a 3-pointer to tie it with 33 seconds left, took their first lead of the game with a pair of 3 free throws with 3 seconds left, And the way that this ended, SLU called a timeout to advance the ball, which was smart. Bell Tillett inbounded it, fine, but they seemed to think they could get something at the basket because Mia Bergstrom wasn't on the floor. Instead, they had Ken Calhoun, the shortest player on the court, not a great 3-point shooter, along with Brooklyn Gray, Tierra Simon, and Shun Anumeli. No one could really get open, and then it wound up with Gray, who kind of took a less than confident 3-pointer that fell short. So I question what was drawn up here. It wasn't supposed to be that. There was no movement. Gray clearly panicked when she got the ball because it wasn't supposed to happen. But it's not just that last play. It was 6 or 7 minutes. Bad shots, missed layups, turnovers. Zach, this was just a disaster class in the fourth quarter. I was disappointed after the 3 games before this, but after this game, I was angry.
Yeah.
I was angry.
I tweeted out during the game because Bonaventure looked so bad that I just don't think women's basketball is their thing. And then we went and, shat the bed. And I just don't know how you put Anumeli on the court in crunch time over Bergstrom.
Yeah, I didn't understand that call at all because I think if nothing else, right? Okay, you've got 4 players who are going to be doing something to get open.
Yeah.
And you have to have that escape valve. If whatever was supposed to happen that didn't happen to give you a layup, something close to the basket, you have to have a Bergstrom in the corner or somewhere you can throw it to, somebody who can get you that 3-pointer. This clearly wasn't supposed to happen. Look, I mean, in the last 7 minutes when they were so bad, Gray did have a steal and an and one that kept SLU on top at one point. Calhoun and Shavers both had layups, but I think those were the only scoring plays with under 7 minutes. And Bonaventure, meanwhile, hits 3 3-pointers with under 4 minutes to play. Bad choices on offense combined with misreads on defense, and what looks like a comfortable wire-to-wire win became a bad loss. And bad, St. Bonaventure entered this game 332 in the net rankings. That's the bottom 9 or 10% of D1. They're capital B bad, Zach. This was a nightmare.
Yeah, and this feels like Ford. This
Yeah.
feels like a Ford collapse.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, the Billikens out rebounded Bonaventure 50-32 again. Not bad. Shavers had 20 rebounds, a career high mark in the A10 this season, one short of the program record. Tierra Simon added 15. I have no freaking idea how we lost this game. Anumeli had 16 points on 17 attempts. Second time in conference play, which is really inefficient. The Billikens shot poorly on all levels here.
There's so you see the rebounding, right? And it's like that was the issue in those first 3 games. They couldn't grab a rebound. They were giving up second, third, fourth attempts at one end, getting no second chances at the other end. That was a big differentiator in those games. In this game, you out rebound a team by 18. You have 2 players basically get their, well, Simon, I don't think that was a career high, but 2 players close to their career highs, if not a career high, almost a program record. And you shoot 38% from the field, 25% from 3, and an uncharacteristic 55% from the free throw line. You commit 9 more fouls. Maybe a little of that's home cooking that gave the Bonnies a lot more attempts, but still, it's just not surprising given how undisciplined they were, right? I mean, that's what just strikes me here is you really have to lack discipline to blow a game this badly against a team that's this bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. We've somehow you remember back in the day when they would do the timeout game where they would put the kids on the bungee cord at other ends and they have to go shoot at each hoop and they would pull each other back. This is what it feels like in Billiken basketball right now. The men do one thing. Men are terrible.
Yeah.
The women are really good. The women are terrible. The men are really good. I don't. By the way, bring back that promotion. That promotion rocks. It is entertaining. It is fun. It is much more fun than like the 3 shot. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're not talking about that right now. This is either going to be a turning point or the beginning of the end for this season. I really don't see them necessarily turning it around unless you get Peyton Kennedy back and more.
But it can still be a wake-up call. It
Yeah.
can still be a point where you got to say we're either going to fold or we're going to play competitive basketball from here on out.
They have folded 4 games in a row here, Pete.
They have, and they've started slow in conference before and gone on a big run in March. Both years that Tillet's been here.
I will fucking lose my mind.
I just don't see it.
No, they don't have the horses.
No, I don't think they do. But regardless, you can't lose this game. You just can't. This was a bad team that they lost to. And now they're alone in last place, winless, the way that the men are alone in first place, like you said. It's not just that they're playing.
They're diametrically opposed to each other in the way they are performing.
Yeah, average them out and we're 8th place in the league, right?
It's beautiful, man. It's the Billiken difference.
It really is.
Coming up next, Wednesday the 15th against George Washington. GW's 1-4 in conference, 8-8 overall. They've lost 3 straight, but your Billikens have lost 4 straight. A net ranking of 269, a bit behind SLU, but SLU has been playing like the last in the nation in the net as of late. They're really interesting with their minute distribution. Basically, the whole roster averages double-digit minutes, and no one plays more than 26 minutes per game. Sounds like a 40 minutes of hell type. Grinnell line changes, Pete.
Yeah, except they're really not that, right?
Yeah,
like they've got size. They play low scoring games, so they're kind of the opposite. They average under 62 a game. They allow about the same. They don't shoot the 3 very well at all. 24.5%. Ooh, They're an awesome rebounding team, though. That's the difference here. They average 9.5 rebounds more than their opponents. So that makes this a tough matchup for SLU. Keep them off the offensive glass, you win this game, or at least you have a shot. If you let second and third chances pile up, you're probably going to lose. And I fear that's what's going to happen here because this is exactly the thing that SLU is not good at.
Yep. Pete, talk to us about Saturday the 18th. It's Loyola, and I don't know what Loyola women's basketball is doing, man. They look good in some games, and then they look absolutely unkempt in others.
Yeah, and they're 10-7 against a pretty weak schedule. They're 2-4 in the A10. They've lost their last two. They score about the same amount as George Washington, about 62 a game. They're a better shooting team on all levels, but they don't get as many opportunities because they're just not a very good rebounding team. They have no players averaging over 10, right? Nobody in double digits. They do have 3 between 9 and 10 a game, though. They shuffle the starting lineup among their top 6 based on matchups, which is kind of funny. Only one player has started all 17 games, but all 6 of the top 6 have started 11 or more games. So they're really kind of matchup dependent on who you're going to see. Overall, it's a much more skilled team than George Washington, but they're just not as big, not nearly as good on the glass, obviously. It all adds up. These are 2 winnable home games, like let's go get them. But they do kind of scare you a little bit. George Washington because of the rebounding, Loyola because they're a little bit better scoring team. Arguably, right? They don't get as many second chances, but they are more efficient. So I'd like to think we can get at least one of these. That would feel like some progress after these first 4 games. If I were more optimistic, I'd say let's go get both, but I don't know. I think the GW matchup's tough.
I do remember that that Loyola game, the year right before they went on that run, I think until its first year, was one of the worst games I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Pete, let's move over to the men's soccer side. Some interesting notes. We've got Patrick Schulte and Tim Ream both called up to the January training camp for the U.S. men's national team to be held in Fort Lauderdale. They'll have friendlies against Venezuela and Costa Rica later this month. Again, I think we're still both predicting Patrick Schulte will be the number 1 goalkeeper at the World Cup, right?
Let's bank on it, man.
I think so.
See that a few years from now. That'd be awesome.
Pete, both swimming and diving are back in action, as well as indoor track and field coming up soon.
Yeah, swimming and diving, January 18th, they'll be at Omaha. Track and field indoor season continues at the Missouri Showdown. January 17th in Columbia. So this weekend, all the winter sports are back in full swing.
That is going to do it for us. Don't forget to follow us on all social medias. Keep up. Make sure you're subscribed to all platforms. Thank you guys all again so much for tuning in. Pete, go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.